Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. We're finally done with the desert world, so it's time to change character. We're playing as Blue Toad, and oh, look, it's Kamek.
Oh, I missed the end of the desert world?
Yeah.
Oh,
Ironically, the desert world, for the first time in video game history, is one of the best worlds in the game.
And with
can we truly not think of decent desert worlds? Are we talking strictly Mario?
I mean, the desert level tends to not be great in most games, you know?
well, the desert worlds are always decent in Mario. It's just that they don't usually mechanically stand out a whole bunch.
Because they're usually second, which means they're fairly easy.
The Mario Odyssey one is good because of the stuff they do with the story in that level and the multi-tiered design.
Was it Toast Arena, I think was the name of it, right?
Yeah.
It's good,
Yeah.
but that's just because Mario Odyssey is a fantastic game. I wouldn't say that Toast Arena is one of the best levels in that game.
It isn't one of the best levels, but it is a memorable desert level.
Yeah, I think we're keeping it strictly the quality of a desert-themed world.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't jiving with the bubble color scheme for Daisy, but Blue Toad over here, rocking it.
Oh, yeah, I think the darker colors match the purple a lot better.
It's the same coloration as the poison mushroom.
Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah.
Wow.
Looks like an edgy toad.
Yeah. What do you think they meant by that?
We're talking.
You think
we're
Toad
talking
is secretly toxic?
normal poison mushroom, right? Not the
Well, yeah.
the Super Mario Brothers Japanese poison mushroom that looks
We're
barely
talking.
distinguishable.
All right, so if we're talking original Lost Levels poison mushroom, that was brown. It was brown and it had mean eyes. But starting with the All Stars remake, it became purple, blue and purple.
The one that I remember the most, just being me, is the Paper Mario one, which is like greenish brown. Like it looks nasty. Like it
Sickly,
definitely doesn't
yeah.
look like you want to eat it. But
Yeah. Well, you didn't touch it in All Stars because it had a skull in the head.
ooh, wow.
It's like that's dangerous.
Did you know that if you eat the poison mushroom in Paper Mario, it's not just a joke item? It has a chance to, I think, like completely refill your star power or something like that. It's like a 1 in 10 or 1 in 50. It's some rare chance to not just screw you over. It will refill some stats in a positive way.
What is being insinuated there? That you've slowly just built a tolerance to poison from ingesting so many of them?
I guess. I don't think it would make it good for you, though. Like, okay, great, I've developed a resistance to cyanide poisoning. That doesn't mean that I get superpowers from cyanide like on Popeye. It just means that I don't die.
Oh my god!
I think
Just
like
bust open a can of cyanide.
it's a fairly popular-ish pop culture trope at the very least that people looking to build up resistance to specific poisons will take controlled doses of those poisons to do so.
That was the thing that's one of the classic jokes in The Princess Bride. Is
You slowly build a resistance to iocane powder. I think it was the name of it.
I love that movie. I need to watch it.
Yeah, that movie was great.
I need to watch it again one of these days, yeah.
You see, though, that's one of those movies that I need to just, whenever I meet someone who hasn't watched it, just say, okay, we're watching it, and not say anything more.
No. I have to disagree. If it is a comedy, I will recommend it, and I'll just leave it to them to watch it.
No,
because
but that's...
nothing feels worse than you recommending a comedy, you're watching it with your friend, and they're not enjoying themselves.
Well, no, that's bad for you. I think for the person watching it, it's just like,
You feel
great.
like shit. Like, for me specifically, is like, if they're not enjoying it on the same level that I do, it's like, oh, like I wasted their time.
Well, I'm more just talking about on the level of the Monty Python and the Holy Grail isn't funny when you've heard literally every joke in it before you've watched it. And I just don't want to be that guy who says every joke in The Princess Bride.
Oh, no, you see, I have more control than that. I would not be that dude that quotes the movie as they're watching it.
Anybody want a peanut? But it's so hard to not do it, though, you know?
My issue is completely separate. It's like recommending comedies is always a fucking tricky endeavor. Actually, we were just, to use the most recent example, earlier today, before we got our day started, Nora was showing me an episode of, they're not College Humor anymore, they're called Dropout now, which I just found out.
Really? I did not
Yeah,
know that.
and they have this show called Game Changer, and we're watching an episode of it, and she's having a ball, and I'm just stonewalled the entire time. And it's like, I feel like a dick. It's like, I'm not laughing at any of this. I don't find it funny.
The thing about sharing comedy with people is that it's really tricky because everyone has a different sense of humor and everyone reacts to what they find funny differently.
Yeah.
Like me, you might think that I'm not enjoying a comedy that I'm watching because I'm not like laughing or showing much outward reaction, but that's just because I don't show much outward reaction when watching comedy, even if I like it.
I'm a statue, and that's because first off, I am. Secondly,
I'm just that kind of reserved person in a general sense. So I might not like show my. I'm also used to trying to keep quiet so that I don't disturb people outside of my room because I'm never frickin' alone wherever I live. You know, it's just developed me into the kind of person who doesn't laugh much at comedy, even when I'm enjoying myself. And that makes it difficult to watch comedy with other people because, well, they might like you, be expecting a more like obvious reaction.
I will say though, if you do have the right group going, or if you're like in the right theater environment, there's just kind of like an atmosphere to being in a room watching a comedy with a bunch of people where everybody's enjoying themselves. That feels awesome.
It's that the importance of that, the perceived importance of that atmosphere is why the laugh track exists, to try and replicate that feeling.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It needs to be stressed.
It's never worked, and that's probably why they stopped doing it so often.
What a story, Lewis.
So there's this is actually really funny. For the sitcom How I Met Your Mother, they didn't have a laugh track for the first like 5 or 6 seasons of the show. What they instead did was they recorded the episodes and then they played them in front of a live audience and then recorded the actual laughter from the live audience. And then for some reason they just stopped doing that and switched to a laugh track because I guess it's cheaper.
It was probably cheaper.
But you can tell because there's some things when it's genuine, it just definitely feels better for sure.
Have you ever seen the inverse of that?
Where the Big Bang Theory with no laugh track? Oh yeah.
Like I don't like that show already, but I've caught a clip of someone removing the laugh track and it is painfully awkward. Like, holy shit.
Well, it's also part of the directing style because they're directed in such a way to wait for the laugh track.
Yeah.
Which is something that you do in like theater, for example. When I did drama club in high school, one of the things that my director had to like bash over our heads with a baseball bat was slow down and don't keep on going with your lines because we're doing a comedy. The audience is going to laugh. And if they're still laughing when your next line comes in, then they're not going to hear the line after that.
They'll miss the setup for the next joke.
Yeah, but it just so happens that when it comes to TV and they're directed like that, it makes the scenes feel very stilted because theater is a different vibe than watching TV. TV is meant, or at least has the perception of being a little bit more natural, as opposed to theater is very big and grandiose.
That's to be fair to that directing style on TV, in the old days before streaming and a pause button being at your beck and call no matter what you were watching or when, it actually was a concern that you would be laughing and not hear the next line, just like you would in a theater, because
that does make sense, yeah.
Yeah, broadcast TV didn't have a pause button.
Back in my day, you had to wait till the commercials to go take a piss, and we liked it. No, we didn't actually. It was terrible.
You know what though, like not to go too off of a tangent that one, but Nora and I, when we got some spare time, we'll watch something on Tubi, because their anime selection is actually pretty fucking significant, and they have a lot of old shit too. The trade-off is that it's free, so you get ads, but honestly, the ads are not the worst thing because we just use it as an excuse to go take a piss or get a water. It's like, oh, we got a minute and a half. All right, bet.
Yeah, no, I don't. So here's the thing: I don't mind ads because, again, as someone who has made money off of YouTube, saying that ads are bad is a little bit hypocritical. The problem is just in that the way that YouTube's default ad sense is set up is to have like 12 ads all at the first 5 minutes of the video, and then they're all unskippable 30-second long ones, and it just breaks up the pace. Versus,
I can offer some insight onto this because I'm the one who handles all the goddamn uploads lately. I have to manually assign my the ads to like the 3/4 marks for every video, which is and I have to make sure that they're popping up at a moment when no one is talking or there's a pause in the talk. But the default ads, I get to see where they're placed whenever I do that. And it's so fucking random. It is. Sometimes there's 2 ads toward the very beginning. Sometimes there's 1 really late into the video. Sometimes there's 5, and the placement makes no goddamn sense. It's all all over the place. It's an automated
system, Lois. Like that's...
Yeah, but you would expect there to be some kind of pattern. There isn't. There's no discernible method to the madness. It's just like the thing does whatever it feels like because it's Thursday. I don't know.
I will go and like start editing those ads myself, and like the Brave Fence Musashi video actually just went live a couple of days at the time of this recording. I process everything first before I start tinkering with all the settings so I can do the ad breaks first, and there's like 12 of them in the first 3 minutes. Like, what are you doing?
God forbid you're watching the video on your TV too, through like the YouTube app on a smart TV or something like that.
And assuming you don't have like premium or some other shit.
No, listen, I haven't been paying for YouTube since 2008. I'm not starting now. I refuse.
No. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, generally speaking.
I do premium partly because I want to support creators who aren't eligible for ads or have like gimped advertising, but I also do it because the actual ads that they play on YouTube are often dog shit.
Yes, they are.
The Mickelson twins that I've mentioned before frequently advertise their scam on YouTube. It's like one step away from mobile advertising where every other ad is an ad for some shitty scam. You can make real money playing our coin pushing
not
game.
to mention, not to like poke this beehive too much, but election season, holy fuck.
Yes,
like,
that too.
At least YouTube is ads are not as bad as Twitter ads these days. Which is not, I know, not saying much, considering that's like the bottom of the barrel.
Fucking tweet, there is a goddamn ad for a casino or a generative AI thing or a product that is clearly third market. Like...
But don't you want to participate in Grok?
The only good ads I've seen on my mobile device lately are Genshin Impact ads. Everything else has been shitty scam shit. Or sign up for our product, for our app, and we can help you improve your credit by doing a fake credit thing. And it's just like, no, please stop. I don't... Can I just get on with my day?
Is there like some way we can just find the internet and unplug it?
Well, it is a series of tubes, so...
That was an episode of South Park, if I remember correctly. The entire internet went down, and so they eventually find a giant internet router, unplug it and plug it back in, and it starts working again.
That's amazing.
That's actually pretty good. I don't like South Park because it's just not my kind of humor, but...
South Park's frustrating because it's like there are some parts of it that are genuinely like hilariously funny, and then you'll see some parts where it's just like, ooh.
It's just offensive for being offensive.
Yeah, and it's like, oh no, you see, but it's all right for us to do it because we attack both sides, and it's like, no, you're both sides in this instance means you're making fun of transphobes and transgender people equally, and that's not how this works, buddy.
I just don't like the style of humor, to be honest. It has nothing to do with the specific jokes.
That is also true. It is like the crass kind of, humor is definitely also hit or miss because there's only so many poop jokes that you can really take.
Well, here's the thing.
Time.
Like, I cannot stand Beavis and Butthead, but Daria, that's some quality stuff.
So you like your dry humor.
Yes.
Is what I'm understanding. Okay.
Yes. Not so much.
I am too. Like, I love dry humor as well.
I like not so much the chuckling at stuff that wasn't funny when you heard it in grade school and isn't funny now.
There's an art to crass humor. Like, you can't just say cock and balls and expect it to be funny. You have to really work your way into it. You want to know what's actually one of the best pieces of bathroom humor I've ever read in my entire life? The Canterbury Tales. I read this taking a medieval literature course in college, and I'm like, okay, it's going to be a medieval literature course. I'm just going to get through it. They have us read the Canterbury Tales, and it starts off, normal enough where they say, if you don't know about the Canterbury Tales because you're not in 11th grade yet, or you slept through that class. Basically, the idea was that Geoffrey Chaucer wrote these stories. It's a story about characters telling stories. And so each chapter, somebody tells a story to pass the time as they walk to Canterbury and back. It never finished because Chaucer fucking died. But anyway, one of the first stories in the collection is, I forget which one of the characters who wrote it. But basically, this guy is, I forget the setup. It's been 10 years since I've read it. Please forgive me. Anyway, the punchline of the joke is it ends with the guy getting a rake shoved up his ass, which is just hilarious because you don't expect it. And the setup was excellent. So you can do crude humor. Crude humor can often be among the most effective humor. You just have to not just shout cock and balls and expect, although sometimes just shouting cock and balls can be funny if you're in the right mood, but oftentimes it's the build-up, it's the tension, like a good horror movie, only instead of a ghost, it's cock and balls.
This is kind of going into like recommending comedies and that thing, just to get an idea of what we look for or digest. But you mentioned specifically disdain for South Park and Beavis and Butthead. But can you think, like, do you frequent like Adult Swim comedies?
No.
Any form or fashion. I mean, all right, so I have not watched all of this myself. I just started watching it, but I ended up really liking what I've watched. Have you guys watched Smiling Friends?
I've only seen a few clips of Smiling Friends.
I've been genuinely enjoying Smiling Friends.
Never heard of it. Although, to be fair, that's more because I just don't go out of my way to find comedy. I am recently learning an appreciation of Rick and Morty, but that's about it. And I've barely scratched the surface.
The problem that I have with a lot of adult-oriented comedies, and again, I speak from limited knowledge and some ignorance. I freely admit that, but it's also because first impressions to mirror everything. And more often than not, after watching an episode or two of an adult comedy, for me, it's the same fucking mean-spirited schlock that I just get tired of. I hate when a show is overly mean-spirited. Like, if every person in the show is an insufferable asshole, I'm not engaged.
Yeah, that's also rough with TV too, because it's generally expected that the first few episodes of a TV show need some time in order to like get the wheels greased. You know?
Okay, characters who are mean-spirited, whether it's in a straight-up comedy or something that plays it for comedy, like House MD, it's a difficult balancing act, and not a lot of shows get it right. You
have to care about the character, but it's hard to care about the character when, it feels like they just won't stop being a dick. And
I hate the moral of every episode of these comedies being the world sucks. And it's like, I know that. It's like,
you mean BoJack Horseman?
I never watched an episode of that.
So. BoJack Horseman's frustrating because it definitely isn't. It's not completely existentialist. Like, it doesn't entirely think that the world sucks, the thesis of BoJack Horseman, I think, is more just that being a good person is very, 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 very hard. Which, I get. Like, that's an interesting, it's an interesting line to go through, is like this bad person who does, feel guilty about what he's trying to do, but he doesn't know how to be a good person. Like, that's interesting. The problem is, it gets too real at some points, and it's just depressing to watch. Like, it's like watching a friend, who's getting back together with that girlfriend that is terrible. Like, they're terrible together. But they keep doing it, and it's like, oh my god, stop. And it's like, you're hurting yourself.
You mean half of Friends.
You see, I've only watched, like, a collective 15 minutes of Friends, so, I can't speak to that.
Yo, fuck that flower.
Why? What did he say?
He said something like, don't leave me.
He's so
lonely.
alone. You finally find him, and he's like, oh, thank God you're here. Please don't leave me. He's like, sorry, but gotta save the world. See, that's like what we just saw there was the fucking moral of the story of BoJack Horseman. World sucks, dude. Sometimes you're just alone.
Well, no, so that I think the thing about BoJack Horseman is it's like watching a friend get back with their terrible ex over and over again. It's like at some point you get tired and you start to give up on the person. And I feel like it could eventually have ended in a satisfying way. I don't know if they're still making episodes. I haven't watched the whole series, but it's like I know that they have to keep on making episodes, and having the characters end at a point where you're not totally frustrated with what's going on would also end the series. So I get it, but yeah, that's a similar thing with Rick and Morty too. That happens. Like, it's like there's only so much you can watch both Rick and Morty be terrible people over and over again.
The thing that drove me, the thing that kind of got up my ass with Rick and Morty is that it's pretty preachy at times, where sometimes the writing, again, it's all very subjective. I'm very much aware, but a lot of it did feel very holier than thou.
It's also it's an interesting. I never thought of it that way, but that does make sense. It's interesting though, because it feels hypocritical for these characters to be acting like that. Because one of the things you learn, after a season or two of watching that show is that Morty is really no better than Rick. He's just more of a wimp, so he doesn't have the guts to follow through with the bad shit that he clearly wants to do. So when like Morty will rant at Rick and being like, "Yo, no, man, you're doing a bad thing here, Rick. I don't know."
The thing is, what you're describing is unfortunately a very realistic dynamic.
Yeah, so they're both toxic people, and honestly, having two toxic people together can lead to good comedy. It's just also when they try to bring the more dramatic elements into it, that it can, like John says, get kind of preachy.
Yeah. And it's like it's like I was saying, it's a hard balance to get that kind of character right in a way that gives them staying power. One of the reasons House MD is so goddamn memorable is because its asshole protagonist plays off the generally good people around him in interesting ways, and frequently gets confronted by his own problems. There's a whole season dedicated to him trying to kick the habit of his painkiller and, going through physical therapy to run again. And he winds up backsliding at the end and staying that way for the rest of the series. But it's interesting that the series spent so much time on him confronting that and trying to improve, even if he ultimately decided to stop trying.
That's actually like I'm trying to find the right word for it, but that's a very realistic thing to happen is, people trying to kick a habit and then backsliding. That happens in the real world all the time. And it's not something that I would have expected a TV show to try to handle in that way. Not only just like, oh, we're going to backslide, but also we're backsliding and he doesn't get better. Like in TV land, you expect that, even if they backslide, eventually it will, he'll do the right thing, quotation marks. It's not necessarily.
I'd argue that depends on the genre of television show you're watching, but I see what you're getting at.
This is more a statement about American TV than anything, but It's generally pretty sanitized. Like, there's not a lot of TV where, the bad guys win and the good guys don't win. Or in this case, the character continues with their drug problem and it doesn't get better. Because people like happy endings, and if you spend 8 years watching a TV show and the ending's bad, people get pissed off, which happens with literally every TV show that gets popular. Is people watch it for 8 years and the ending's bad and people get pissed off.
House has a pretty downer ending, to be honest, but people still love it because the individual stories are great.